Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Major Moon. Thanks for tuning in today. Today we're gonna be discussing Valorant patch notes, the 0.47 plus. We have some very big things to talk about today. Some being the melee damage got a buff. RAZE getting absolutely slapped by this nerf. Sage actually getting a buff and a nerf. Some updates, quality of life changes, and some bug fixes. Let's get right into it. So first off is the melee damage, which is under the gameplay and balance section. So first we have melee attacks now inflict double the damage per hit to destructibles, including Sage's barrier, Haven's metal double doors. So especially with those, especially against Sage's barrier, is where this really comes into play, because especially where it says why, and it says there weren't enough options during low economy rounds such as the first round and right after switching sides to combat Sage's barrier orb. Our intent is to add a high risk, high reward method for players to interact with her wall while still being able to take it down no matter their loadout. So basically what they're saying is the reason why they added this is because when you don't have that much money, when you don't have a fully automatic weapon like the Phantom of the Vandal, you can't break through her wall effectively with just your classic pistol or maybe your Ghost. So what they did is they doubled the damage against her wall, like especially like let's say you're on split and you're pushing A, and then their Sage walls off a ramp. You can't go heaven anymore, so you're pretty much just trapped on A. So to combat that, you could just pull out your knife, do double the damage against her wall than it would at any other bullet, and then you just break through it, push through mid heaven, push through A heaven, and I think this is a well-needed change, especially because I was on the receiving end of this. One round is actually when we were switching sides, and the Sage actually just walled off a ramp, and we just sat there for a good, I don't know, 10-15 seconds just knifing at the wall, like two of us, and it just took forever to break. And so I think this was a really well-needed change. I think the Riot devs did do a good job on this one. And oh boy, we're jumping into the race. Cue the meme, everybody. I'm like a little boy on Christmas Day, waking up at 8 a.m., eating breakfast with my family, and under the present, I see this. This is beautiful. Oh my god. This is my main complaint with this game, is because RAZE, even though she is a duelist, is one of the most overpowered characters in the game. I think she was the S tier character to have in every match that you played of Valorant. So let's go through the present, shall we? Reduced paint shells from 2 to 1. Oh my goodness. So you know those things, cross-map grenades that RAZE always threw, banked it off a wall into heaven. Oh, you're dead now, right? Yeah, she only has one of those now instead of 2. Oh, did I forget to mention? They now have a kill reset. So you need to kill 2 people to get 1 grenade. It's exactly what my boy Phoenix is. Is that in order to charge his fireball, his hot hands, you need to get 2 kills to refresh the cooldown. Now she has to get 2 kills to refresh 1 of her paint shells. Oh, and now she has tuned in adjusted audio for paint shells, blast pack, and showstopper, so that they'll be easier to hear in hectic scenarios. So when it sounds like a Vietnam war zone, yeah, you'll be able to hear her a mile away, which is good, which is great. And then you have fix an edge case where the secondary cluster of paint shells would explode quicker than intended. I've been on the receiving end of that, and my god, is it frustrating. I'm so glad that they fixed that, because I remember I was on A ramp again on split, and Ray just banked it off. She knew I was there. It was bad positioning by me. She knew I was there. Banked it off the back wall on the right side of A ramp, and boom. And then right when it hit the wall, detonated, and like the little cluster bombs inside the paint can detonated, and I died pretty much instantly. And my computer, I almost punched my monitor. It was bad. Anyway, So they always have like a cue leading into why they did it. So it says RAZE's goal is to be a highly threatening duelist that punishes enemies posted in predictable positions, which is why I said I guess she's a duelist, which means you're supposed to have overpowered abilities to get kills, like Phoenix's curveball, where you can be blinded. But it says that, but we felt like the cluster grenades and their number were creating overly oppressive scenarios, which I totally agree with. Also, players should be supplied proper gameplay information, and the audio cues on all of RAZE's abilities didn't match their threat. So we changed the audio beach. For example, when the showstopper is equipped or fired from a distance, players should be able to clearly identify and interpret the threat. So you'll know which direction she's coming from and when she popped it. So after that, I don't think anybody was expecting this part. Sage actually got a buff and a nerf, in my opinion. So to start off, Slow Orb actually now slows the airspeed of players in the zone. So that's a little bit of buff for her. So when you're in it, you can't bunny hop through it anymore. So when you're stuck in there, you're stuck in there. But it also says players can now walk through the Slow Orb without making noise, which is her nerf. So she kind of got a buff and a nerf, both the same thing. So I think they both counteract each other, because if you think you can't bunny hop through the Slow Orb little pool anymore. So when that happens, if you're stuck in there, you won't make any noise while walking out of it or through it. So that's great. I didn't have any problem with Sage's Slow Orb. I've talked to some people that play with like ICBA. He mains Sage. He thinks that she deserves this nerf, which I can kind of agree with, especially because on the fact that her Slow Orb, it was very much utilized by the better players of Valorant, where you pull off short A and they can't go for, I'd say, about 20-25 seconds. But now the airspeed gets slowed too, so you can't get out of there. If you're in there, you're trapped. You're done. But now if you do neutralize the threat or Sage that Slow Orbed you can walk out of there without making any noise. So I think these both counteract each other. I think this was a good move by the Riot devs, but it says why though. It says players were able to circumvent too much of Sage's Slow Orb by bunny hopping through the zone, which I agree with. I've done that plenty of times. It says we want the minimum slow amount to be a bit more consistent with all the movement in the zone, while still allowing for bunny hopping and walking to provide a slight benefit to traversing the zone. Also, we feel adding a stealthy yet slow way to move through the field brings more nuance to playing against the zone and a bit more uncertainty for Sage, since she can't necessarily hear people who move through. So in my personal opinion, I think they did well on this. I think everything in this patch was well deserved, especially the RAZE nerf. But Sage, I don't think many people were expecting Sage, because I thought Sage was more balanced, but I did think her Slow Orb did need a little bit of work, especially since my friend Steven, go check him out by the way, he streams daily. He actually pointed it out to me. I was like, huh, I did not realize that, because I don't play Sage normally. I play duelist characters. So even though I think this was a good and a bad way, I think in a way for Sage, I think it was well deserved, and I think would make the game move on in a more tactical way, and how Sage mains use their Slow Orb from now on. But now we have map updates. Several exploits fixed on Bind, Haven, and Split. I don't know much. I think I know a couple of Cypher. Split, it says orb removed from B mid to B main. I think that's a big one, especially because that orb was very sided on the attack side. So I think moving it back would be a little bit better. And the intent is to alleviate some pressure from mid to provide more incentive for players to control B main. So I think everything's okay there. I think that orb movement is solid, especially because of the just smoking, and you can get a free ult point from mid. Next, we have some quality of life changes. Just reduced outbound network traffic from client for players running at high frames per second. Again, my friend ICBA, he has a better computer than I do. Normally runs his computer around 200 frames per second, and he was rubber banding his ass off. So from what I heard, the people that have monster computers, running at high frames actually causes you to lag. So that's pretty much fixed now. So especially going into the fighting range and you had your frames like not capped, and you would rubber band all over the place. So should be fixed now. I'm glad that got fixed. Some ISPs and network setups are throttling game traffic, impacting gameplay by causing large spikes in network latency. FPS increased, no impacted gameplay or responsiveness. I'm gonna throw bug fixes in there as well, since this is not really a big segment. Some bug fixes were fixed a rare server crash caused by packets occasionally being corrupted by some players' networks. Cypher spy cam can no longer use weapons. That I've seen. I have not witnessed that personally, but I've seen some videos on Reddit. Those were funny as hell. Fix a bug where footstep audible range would sometimes not appear on the minimap. So, and that's pretty much all there is for 0.47 plus. I mean, just a little recap. We got a buff in melee damage against Sage's barriers and Haven's middle double doors. Big RAZE nerf, which is the paint shells 2-to-1. You got a Sage buff and a nerf, which is the slow orb airspeed and the non-audible walk through the slow orb. You have the map updates, which is the orb movement, quality of life, which is the extended FPS, does not cause lag anymore, and then you got Cypher spy cam, can no longer use weapons. So yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. I'm gonna try to do these every time a big patch comes out, especially with nerfs like RAZEs. That was huge. I'm very excited about that. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll see if I can have something for you next week. I do have a Phoenix guide in the process because I do love my guy Phoenix. But thank you guys. Stay tuned. Just like and subscribe. Really appreciate for you stopping by. And I'll try to have these every time a patch does come out. So thank you guys. I'll see y'all later. Have a good night.
I might just look slow, and niggas tuck their chains every time we walk in the club. I used to front a Nick, now I can roll more than a dub. She used to dump my shit, now this bitch tryna get a hug. I swear